There's a part of you that's silently killing you. That soft voice disguised as comfort that whispers, "You'll do it tomorrow. It's not that bad. You're fine the way you are." That's your prison. That's your chain. And every day you listen to it, your true self dies a little more. Don't fool yourself. You're not a victim of life. You're a hostage of your weak version. And only you can execute it. In this video, you're going to discover how to put an end, once and for all, to that weak version that controls your steps, decides your actions, and limits your destiny. We'll use the teachings of Stoicism so you stop giving in to laziness, fear, and procrastination, and start forging an iron mindset. This is not about getting motivated for a moment. It's about a radical transformation that gives you back the power that's always been yours. Get ready to feel uncomfortable, because the truth you're about to hear doesn't caress, it strikes. Today you'll learn how to harden your character, destroy your excuses, and rebuild yourself from the ground up to become unstoppable. Ready to kill your weak self and be reborn stronger than ever? There comes a moment in life when you face a decision. Keep being a shadow of what you could be or destroy, once and for all, the weak version of yourself that keeps you chained. Look at yourself. You're still trapped in excuses, postponing your greatness. But tell me, until when? How much longer will you tolerate that voice telling you that you can't, that it's too hard? Lesson 1. Build your inner strength. Everyone wants to change their life, but few stop to ask, what foundation am I building on? Many chase results without first laying the base that will hold them up when everything starts to shake. Imagine your mind as a walled city. If the walls are weak, any word, emotion, or criticism breaks through. But if they're solid, nothing external can bring you down. That's how the Stoics understood true strength, not as something physical, but as a mental structure built on principles, clarity, and calm. They weren't trying to conquer the world. They were trying to govern themselves. Modern life teaches us to strengthen the body, the bank account, the image. But, my friend, none of that means anything if your mind is still fragile. True strength doesn't show in your muscles. It shows in how calmly you respond when everything goes wrong. And that inner strength isn't built overnight. It rises from small daily choices, shaped by clarity, discipline, and patience. That is the foundation of all real transformation. If you truly want to become your best version, the one that stands firm even when the world changes, you need to build 3 essential pillars. These are the same ones the great Stoics practiced, and you can start applying them today: brutal clarity, intelligent discipline, and strategic patience. The first pillar is brutal clarity. Marcus Aurelius practiced it every night. He didn't write in his journal to impress anyone. He wrote to see himself clearly. His writing was his mirror. That's where he faced his fears, his ego, his mistakes. He didn't lie to himself, he observed. And that's what's often missing, the ability to look at yourself without filters, without excuses, without decoration. When you say, "That's just how I am," what you're really saying is, "I don't want to change." But when you dare to look at yourself without judgment, you discover what parts of you need work. Clarity doesn't come all at once. It shows up when you start asking uncomfortable questions. Why do I react like this? What am I avoiding? Am I living by my values or just out of habit? If you ask yourself those questions every day, you create space to build from truth. Because there is no real change without radical honesty with yourself. The second pillar is discipline. Seneca said that a free man is one who rules over himself. Discipline isn't rigidity, it's freedom. Think of every emotion as a wild horse. If you let it run loose, it drags you. If you try to kill it, you lose part of yourself. But if you learn to guide it, you move far without destroying yourself. That's how the mind works. Discipline isn't about repressing. It's about learning how to direct your energy toward what makes you stronger. So don't rely only on willpower. If you have to fight with yourself every day just to do the right thing, you'll end up exhausted. Design your environment to help you. If you want to read more, leave a book on the table. If you want to meditate, set up the space before bed. Make what's good for you easy. and make what pulls you away from your best self harder to reach. That's intelligent discipline, building systems that support you even when you don't feel like it. The third pillar is strategic patience. The Stoic understands that nothing great happens fast. We live in a time that worships speed, but the things that truly matter take time. Like a seed that goes through seasons before it blooms, you too need to go through winters. Seneca wrote, "No tree becomes strong with just one summer." Strength isn't built through quick wins. It's built through endurance on the slow days. Strategic patience isn't passivity. It's steady action without anxiety over results. It's understanding that real progress includes days of calm and days of storm. Some days, everything flows, and others, all you can do is hold on. But even on those days, if you stick to your principles, you're still building. What grows slowly lasts longer. What grows fast dazzles, but breaks. You can start today. Create a small reflection ritual at night, just 5 minutes before bed, to ask yourself, did I act from my values today or from impulse? Don't do it to judge yourself. Do it to stay awake. Over time, that practice gives you a clarity that cuts through everything like a blade. Except that the path won't be linear. Some days you'll feel calm, others like everything is falling apart. But each one of those days shapes your character. It's consistency that turns stone into sculpture. Don't chase motivation, chase coherence. That's real stability, the kind that doesn't depend on mood, but on your commitment to what you know is right for you. Lesson 2. Protect your energy like a treasure. Picture this. You wake up motivated. You think, today's the day, this is going to be the most productive Monday of the year. You have breakfast, get dressed, and head out with a disciplined mindset. But by mid-morning, someone adds you to a WhatsApp group arguing about the best place to eat paella, and you spend half an hour reading and replying. Later at the office, you get caught in a useless debate about whether the coffee machine should be upstairs or downstairs. Then, during your break, you open social media just for 5 minutes. And before you know it, you've watched cat videos, political arguments, and a tutorial for baking bread you'll never make. By the time it's finally time to focus, your energy is gone. Like you've drained your entire battery on things that didn't matter at all. This isn't by accident. Energy doesn't vanish all at once. It leaks out in small drips throughout the day. And the worst part is, most of the time, you're the one opening the tap. It's like carrying a backpack full of supplies to cross a desert and deciding to hand them out to anyone who asks, even strangers. By the time you actually need them for what matters most, you're empty. Look at Novak Djokovic, the world's #1 in tennis. He's a perfect example of this. His success doesn't just come from perfecting shots and building physical endurance. He openly talks about how he protects his mental energy before a tournament. He avoids people and conversations that drain his focus. He refuses to get pulled into debates or distractions that could sap him, because he knows every thought and every emotion count. He steps onto the court with a clean mind, no leaks, ready to put everything he has into what truly matters. In fact, if you think about it, Djokovic could pass for a Stoic without a problem. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You lose what you keep for others." He wasn't just talking about material possessions. He meant your attention, your time, your mental strength. Every time you spend your energy on something that doesn't add value, you're giving away a part of yourself you'll never get back. A Stoic doesn't allow himself to waste fuel on things that don't move him toward his goal. He chooses who and what he invests his attention in, like someone guarding a one-of-a-kind jewel. So how can you apply this yourself? Step 1. Make an honest list of your daily energy leaks. You might discover you waste half an hour on social media before bed. You linger in conversations with that person who always complains and leaves you in a bad mood. Or you join debates that change nothing. Write it all down, no filters. Step 2. Set clear boundaries. Here's where something Cal Newport, creator of the deep work concept, comes in. He recommends structuring your day into blocks of work and rest, removing distractions entirely while you're in each block. For example, if you only check your phone at certain times, you avoid fragmenting your attention. If you decide not to answer messages outside certain hours, you cut off interruptions that drain you. Yes, it's hard at first, but it's like training a muscle. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Step 3. Schedule your energy like you would meetings with your best client. If you know there's a time of day when you perform best, guard it like gold. Don't trade it for just a quick thing or a favor you could do another day. If that's your time to train, write, or work on your project, make it untouchable. In the end, it's easier to defend a space that's already booked than to create one when you're already drained. Think of your energy like the battery of an old phone. It didn't charge in 15 minutes like now. You had to take care of it so it lasted all day. And if you ran out of battery in the middle of the street, you were stuck. It's the same with your energy. Spend it without thinking, and by the time you need it for the important stuff, it's gone. So tell me, what do you do to protect your energy? Share it in the comments, so together we can create a whole arsenal of strategies for our community to finish the day with the strength to focus on what truly matters. And if you don't have a technique yet, write, "I protect my energy like a treasure," because that, believe me, is the first step to finally burying the part of you that settles for living tired and too drained to go after what it really wants. Before we go on, let me ask you something. How many times have you felt that something inside you is holding you back, even though you know you could give so much more? I'm not talking about a lack of opportunities, but about that part that convinces you to settle. If this sounds familiar, subscribe and become an exclusive member to start burying that weak version and building the best version of yourself. And tell me in the comments, what's held you back the most in recent years? Or simply write Stoic at heart. From today on, my strong self is the one in charge. Lesson 3. Close every door to temptation. Tell me something. How many times have you said you were going to change something, yet kept everything nearby that could make you slip? How many times have you promised to start fresh, but without realizing it, you set yourself up to fail? My friend, it's not that you lack willpower. It's that you're leaving the door wide open for the enemy. And I'm not talking about some imaginary enemy. I'm talking about the part of you that takes advantage of the first slip to push you back into your old habits. The part that doesn't want you to kill your weak version once and for all, because it feeds on every concession you make. Think of a castle at war. The army guarding it doesn't wait until the enemy is 10 meters away to raise the drawbridge. It keeps it closed at all times, because once the enemy gets inside, kicking them out is 1,000 times harder. Your life works the same way. Temptations don't politely wait for you to say no. They come in uninvited, and if your door is open, you've already lost half the battle. Here's a simple example that might sound familiar. You want to eat healthier, but in your kitchen you have cookies, chips, and ice cream, just in case someone comes over. One day you come home from work exhausted, your mind full of problems, and there's your weak self, rubbing its hands together, reminding you just how good that package you saved tastes. That just in case turns into just today, and just today turns into the norm. Ryan Holiday, writer and modern Stoic, does something smart when he's working on a book. He shuts down social media, blocks internet access on his work computer, and isolates himself from any distraction. Not because he's some superhuman who can ignore temptation all day, but because he knows that if you leave a door open, sooner or later something will come in. And temptations are the same. If they can get in, they will. Habits are maintained far more by controlling your environment than by sheer self-control. Think about it. How many times have you slipped? Not because you didn't have the strength, but because what tempted you was right in front of you. Most of the time, we don't relapse because we're weak. We relapse because we live surrounded by traps we set for ourselves. And the ironic part is, those traps aren't hidden. They're right there, staring you in the face, daring you to fall again. Epictetus put it clearly. No one is free who is not master of himself. Being master of yourself doesn't mean resisting the irresistible every day. It means not putting yourself in situations where you have to resist. It's not about proving you can handle everything. It's about making sure what weakens you never even gets the chance to come close. So, what can you do? First, make your temptations invisible. If you want to stop eating something, don't keep it at home. If you want to spend less time on your phone, leave it in another room while you work or study. If you want to quit a bad habit, remove the objects or access points that make it easier. Second, prepare easy alternatives for moments you know you're vulnerable. If you get home late and hungry, have something quick and healthy ready. If you struggle to get moving, lay out your workout clothes the night before. And third, design your space so that what's good for you is always within reach. A book on the table instead of the remote, a bottle of water instead of soda, a notebook instead of the app that eats your time. Every time you close a door, you're not just keeping out temptation. You're taking power away from the part of you that wants to keep you the same. The part that feeds on your excuses, your "I'll start tomorrow," your small but constant concessions. That weak version doesn't need an invitation. It just needs a gap. And if you close every door, it can't get in. It's not about living in an impenetrable fortress, it's about building an environment that plays in your favor. Because if you think about it, most of your life is the result of small, repeated decisions. And those decisions are far easier to win when your surroundings push you in the right direction. So today, don't just think about what you want to achieve. Think about what doors you have open right now. What in your life, even if it seems harmless, is giving your weak version a chance to appear. If you can spot it, you can shut it. And when you do, you'll see that moving toward your best self isn't about infinite willpower. It's about strategic intelligence. Because in the end, temptation is like an unwanted guest. It doesn't call ahead, and if it finds the door open, it'll walk right in. Your job is to lock it, secure it, and make it clear who's in charge here. And every time you keep it out, that part of you that's always tried to hold you back loses power, while your best self gains ground. Lesson 4. Break free from your old self. My friend, let me ask you something, but I want you to be honest with your answers. Why do you keep checking your phone every 5 minutes when you know you have more important things to do? Why do you say you want to be disciplined, yet every time your alarm goes off, you hit snooze? Why do you keep complaining about your life while repeating the same habits that got you here in the first place? Let's be clear. You're still dragging around a version of yourself that's holding you back. You keep falling into the same weak habits. You keep allowing your past self to stay in control. And the worst part? Deep down, you know it. So if you keep carrying around the version of you that fails, how do you expect to succeed? Imagine yourself lost in the middle of the ocean. You've been drifting aimlessly for days. No land in sight. No idea where you are or where to go. The sun is burning, the water is running out, and desperation is taking over. But you keep making the same choices that got you lost in the first place. You keep letting the currents pull you wherever they want, trusting luck, hoping that somehow things will change on their own. Until one day, something inside you wakes up. You realize that if you keep following the same plan, you'll stay lost. So you take control of the helm, you study the sun and the stars, and you row with everything you have in a clear direction. And then, on the horizon, you finally see land. But here's the important part. When you reach the shore, you set fire to your boat. You destroy it. You burn it to ashes, because there is no going back. You can't return to the sea where you were lost. You won't allow yourself to go back to the version of you that didn't know what to do. And that, my friend, is the key. Breaking free from your old self. I know you want to change. You want to be more disciplined, more efficient, stronger. You want to stop wasting time, stop procrastinating, stop betraying yourself with cheap excuses. But that won't happen until you break away from the identity that's keeping you chained to those habits. So let's do something right now. Grab a piece of paper and write down everything that belongs to your old self. But don't just write it, draw it. It doesn't matter if you're not an artist. Make a doodle, a stick figure, whatever. But give form to that you that's been holding you back. What does it look like? Is it tired? Is it glued to a phone screen? Is it slumped on the couch watching TV saying, "I'll start tomorrow"? Give it a face, give it an attitude, and most importantly, make it ridiculous. Because it's time to see that weak version of yourself for what it really is, an obstacle in your way. Take a good look at it. There it is, your old self. Now write down everything that defines it. First, list the habits that are holding you back. Do you struggle to wake up early? Do you lose hours on social media without realizing it? Do you want to work out, but you always end up on the couch? Then write down your fears. Fear of failure, fear of what others will say, fear of putting in effort and not seeing results right away. And finally, write down every excuse you keep repeating in your head. I don't have time. I don't have energy. I'm not as good as other people. Write down everything you no longer want to be, everything that's been holding you back, everything you need to leave behind. Now, destroy it. Rip it to pieces, burn it, throw it in the trash, do whatever it takes, but eliminate it from your identity. Because the truth is this, your old self died today. And now, tell me, what will you do with the new one? Will you keep carrying the weight of who you used to be? Or will you finally start acting like the person you truly want to become? Lesson 5. Learn to be alone with yourself. We live surrounded by noise, messages, screens, conversations, notifications that pop up even when you're not expecting them. Some days it feels like silence is going extinct, like an endangered species. And tell me honestly, when was the last time you were truly alone with yourself? Not scrolling through your phone, not planning what's next, but actually listening, really listening to yourself. If the Stoics were alive today, Marcus Aurelius probably wouldn't be writing his reflections on parchment. He'd be typing them into the Notes app on his phone. And even then, a notification would probably pop up just as he was about to have a moment of insight. Picture the scene. Remember, you will die. New message from WhatsApp. Even he would lose his patience. All jokes aside, the Stoics understood better than anyone the need to disconnect from the noise of the world in order to reconnect with yourself. Epictetus taught his students that the mind needs silence the way the body needs rest. And Seneca didn't sugarcoat it. He recommended stepping away from the chaos from time to time, not to escape the world, but to return to it stronger. Because the real danger isn't the external noise. The real problem starts when that noise moves inside. When you let other people's opinions, comparisons, and distractions take up so much space in your mind that you can no longer hear your own voice. The Stoics knew that the soul sometimes needs airplane mode. No connection, no interference, just you, with yourself. Imagine coming home after a long day. Traffic, emails, unfinished conversations, everything still spinning in your head. Your first instinct is to turn on the TV, play some music, or grab your phone to distract yourself. But this time, don't. Sit in silence for 5 minutes. Breathe. Don't look at the clock. Don't try to fix anything. Just notice what's going on inside. It might feel uncomfortable at first, I know. But soon, something starts to clear up. That calm you feel doesn't come from the outside. It comes from reconnecting with yourself. Seneca wrote a line that captures this perfectly. There is no retreat more peaceful than that which is found within oneself. Let me repeat that, not because it sounds poetic, but because it's deeply true. He meant that peace isn't about escaping noise. It's about not carrying it with you. You can be in the quietest place on earth and still feel restless, or you can be in the middle of chaos and still feel grounded, if you've learned how to find that refuge within. When you learn to be alone with yourself, you stop needing so much from the outside. You no longer depend on validation, applause, or constant noise to feel alive. You discover a new kind of strength, the kind that comes from knowing you can be with yourself without wanting to run away. And that, my friend, brings you closer than anything else to your best self. Start small. Take 5 minutes a day to sit in silence, not to think, just to observe. If something bothers you, don't rush to cover it up with distractions. Stay still and listen, because your soul speaks in the silences you usually avoid. And I'm going to give you a challenge. Not an impossible one, just something simple but powerful. The challenge is to spend intentional time alone. Choose a day this week and plan it like a special meeting. Wake up early, get dressed as if you were going to meet someone important, and go out alone. No headphones, no rush. Go to your favorite cafe and sit in silence. Don't take out your phone, just observe. Watch people walk by, listen to the sound of cups clinking, breathe in the smell of freshly brewed coffee. Then take a walk without a destination, maybe through a park, along the beach, or down a quiet street. Walk without thinking about what you need to do later. Just walk, breathe. Look up at the sky, give yourself permission to be fully present. If a thought shows up, let it go. Don't chase it. When you get home, write down 3 lines about what you felt. Not what you thought, what you felt while being alone with yourself. You might be surprised to realize that solitude isn't as heavy when you learn to enjoy it. This is the kind of practice the Stoics would have loved. Not because of the coffee or the walk, of course, but because in those simple moments, the mind resets. Marcus Aurelius did the same thing, only his coffee was the Roman sunrise and his walk was the silence of his military tent. He understood that peace isn't found in temples or retreats. It's in those few minutes of full attention when you come back to yourself. Do it once a week, a date with yourself, to listen, to understand, to remember who you are when you're not performing for the world. Because when you learn to enjoy your own company, you stop needing so much from everyone else. 6th lesson. What is your weak version? My friend, have you ever felt like someone is sabotaging you? But it's not an external enemy. It's you. Or rather, your weak version. That voice that always finds the perfect excuse, the one that tells you, better tomorrow. Now's not the right time. That's just the way I am. Imagine this, a packed stadium, roaring crowds, flashing lights, tension thick in the air. Welcome to the fight of the century. But this isn't just any match. This is the most important battle of your life. Because in this ring, there aren't 2 unknown fighters. Both of them are you. In the right corner, the version of you that you've always wanted to be. Standing tall, sharp gaze, steady breath. Strong, disciplined, relentless. He doesn't waste time, he doesn't negotiate with laziness, he doesn't let fear paralyze him. He's ready to win. But in the opposite corner, there stands his opponent, your weak version. You recognize him instantly. Slumped shoulders, uncertain eyes, shaky legs. He's not here to fight. He's here because he's used to winning without effort. Because every time you say, I'll start tomorrow. Every time you say, just a little longer. Every time you say, it's okay, I'll do it later. You've handed him the victory without him even having to throw a punch. Now tell me, who would you bet on? Before you answer, listen carefully. Because do you know what the real problem is? This fight has never been fair. Your weak version doesn't play by the rules. He doesn't face you with the truth. He uses cheap tricks. He whispers in your ear, lulls you into comfort, convinces you that giving up is fine because everyone does it. And the worst part? Without realizing it, you've been feeding him every single day. Think about it. How many times has this happened to you? Your alarm goes off in the morning, and you think, 5 more minutes. But those 5 minutes turn into 30. And by the time you finally get up, you have no time for anything. Your weak version won. Or maybe you planned to clean out your closet, but when the time came, you said, not today, I'm too tired. The result? Another day wasted. Another round lost to the wrong version of yourself. Seneca said it centuries ago. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. And he was right. Because your weak version doesn't just fear failure. It imagines it before it even happens. It makes you believe it's better not to try, that you might fail, that it's not worth the effort. But listen to me. That voice is a lie. It's a trap designed to keep you in the same place, and every day you keep listening to it, you keep losing. So, do you know what your weak version is? It's time to turn this fight around, and we'll do it together. Right now, grab a pen and paper, open a note on your phone, whatever works, and write down 3 things you do every day that feed your weak version. Don't overthink it. Be brutally honest with yourself. Is it procrastination, lack of discipline, Maybe you're not disciplined with your body, your mind, your decisions. Maybe it's the people you spend time with. Whatever it is, put it into words, because when you identify your enemy, you can start to destroy it. And now that you have the list, look at those habits carefully, because they are the bars of the cage you've been trapped in. They are the blows that have knocked down your strongest self over and over again. Are you going to keep betting on the loser? Or are you going to step out of this ring as the fighter you truly are? The choice is yours. Lesson 7. Failure doesn't defeat you, it trains you. Think about the last time you failed at something. Maybe you spent weeks preparing for an important presentation. You barely slept, redid your slides a dozen times, and when the big day finally came, something went wrong. You stumbled over your words, forgot a key part, and noticed people losing interest. You finished early, feeling like you'd ruined everything. And the first thing you did was blame yourself, right? You walked home replaying every mistake, with that voice in your head whispering, "Why didn't I do better?" You felt shame, frustration, even anger at yourself. But let me tell you something. The only thing that takes a step back when you fail is your ego. You keep moving forward. Because even if that presentation didn't go as planned, you walked away with something far more valuable. The experience that helps you do better next time. What truly shapes you isn't the result. It's your ability to look at your mistakes without giving up. That's the same lesson Seneca learned from his own failures. He was an advisor to emperors, but he was also unjustly accused, exiled, and betrayed by those he trusted most. That's why he wrote, "No man was ever wise by chance." He didn't say it from a comfortable life, but from experience. He lived through loss, exile, political failure, and betrayal. Yet he never saw them as tragedies, but as part of the process of becoming stronger and more aware. Because wisdom, like strength, doesn't come from success. It's born from calmly observing your mistakes and learning from them. Now imagine your life as a laboratory. Every decision you make is an experiment. Some work, some don't, but all of them teach you something. The problem is that most people treat failure like an exam, when in reality, it's practice. Every time something goes wrong, life is giving you valuable information about how you think, how you react, and where fear still controls you. The Stoic is like a scientist, testing, observing, adjusting, and trying again. They don't punish themselves for failing, they learn from it. Because failure doesn't define you, it reveals you. And what you do after you fail defines who you're becoming. We all fail. The difference lies in what happens next. Some people lock themselves in guilt, while others turn the stumble into a lesson. The Stoics chose the second path. Epictetus said, "Circumstances don't make the man, they reveal him." And he was right. It's not failure that destroys you. It's the way you interpret it. If you see it as the end, it drags you down. If you see it as training, it builds you up. It's like learning to shoot an arrow. At first, you miss the target completely, but every miss gives you feedback about the angle, the strength, the wind. If you observe, you improve. If you get frustrated, you repeat the same mistake. That's how life works. Every failure, if you look at it calmly, teaches you where to aim better next time. And that, my friend, is what separates someone who gets stuck from someone who evolves. Change the question from, "Why did this happen to me?" to, "What is this trying to teach me?" That simple shift turns suffering into growth. Every mistake can be a disguised teacher if you're willing to listen. When something goes wrong, write it down. Note what was under your control and what wasn't. Seeing it on paper helps you understand that not everything depends on you. Your responsibility isn't to control the outcome, but to learn from the process. That understanding frees you from guilt and brings you peace. Seneca also said, "Difficulty awakens the spirit of a brave man." And he wasn't talking about heroic courage, but that quiet strength that appears when you decide not to give up. When you choose to get up one more time, even when the world says there's no point, that's when you grow stronger. Remember this, failure doesn't make you less, it makes you more aware. Every fall, if you observe it without drama, trains you not to depend on the outcome, but to focus on the right action. And when you act from that calmness, you realize that you never truly lose. You simply change form. Yes, some people break when they fail, but others are forged by it. The difference lies in how they interpret the hit. The one who blames themselves stays trapped in the past, while the one who reflects builds the future. The first person stays inside the wound. The second extracts wisdom from it. Think of all the times you thought something was the end, only to discover later that it was the beginning of something new. Sometimes what looks like failure is just a course correction. You didn't lose. You learned to steer better. You didn't fall. You gathered momentum. Lesson 8. Don't think, just do it. You'll probably relate to this. You want to do something, but instead of doing it, you start overthinking. Well, I'll do it later, but first, let me check my email. Maybe tomorrow would be a better day to start. I'm going to get everything organized first, make a detailed plan, and then I'll really do it. And just like that, you're stuck, trapped in the overthinking loop, like a hamster running on a wheel, going in circles but never moving forward. You analyze every possibility, convince yourself that you'll do it soon, but time keeps passing, and you're still in the same place. Do you know the difference between those who achieve things and those who don't? No, it's not talent. It's not luck. It's not intelligence either. The difference is that some people take action, while others just keep thinking about it. So now, tell me, my friend, which team are you on? If you tend to procrastinate, let me tell you something. This isn't just about willpower. There's actual science behind it. The longer you think about doing something, the harder it becomes to start. It's as if your brain builds a wall that gets higher and higher. A study published in the Journal of Psychology and Education found that procrastination is closely linked to anxiety and stress. The more you postpone something, the more anxious you feel, and that anxiety makes you delay it even further. It's a vicious cycle. That's exactly what happens to someone in my family. Every time you ask him for a favor or remind him of something he needs to do, he always says, "I'll do it in 5 minutes one of these days." Then he starts explaining his whole plan, how he'll do it, the steps he'll follow. He spends days, sometimes weeks, just thinking about it, but he never does it. The task becomes heavier and harder in his mind, and in the end, when he finally decides to do it, he realizes that, surprise, it really did only take 5 minutes. See the problem? He spent more time thinking about doing it than actually doing it. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, put it simply: do what nature requires of you. Don't get distracted by anything else. Our nature is to act, not to get trapped in an endless loop of thoughts and excuses. So how do you break this cycle? Here's a practical tip. Use the 3-second rule. When you hesitate to do something, count to 3 and take action before your brain comes up with an excuse. 1, 2, 3, go. No time to overthink, no space for doubt. Believe me, procrastination is the silent killer of your dreams. Every time you delay something, you're feeding your weak version, the part of you that seeks comfort, fears failure, and prefers the easy way out. But that's not who you are. Inside you, there's a strong version. Decisive, action-oriented, unstoppable. Don't think, just do it. Your future self will thank you. 9th lesson. Comfort is your worst enemy. Yes, comfort is your worst enemy. And that's exactly what happened to a bear in the northern mountains. They say that long ago, in a dense forest, there was a brown bear who had everything any other bear could dream of. He didn't need to hunt. He didn't need to put in any effort. Near his cave, a small village left food scraps every day: bread, meat, fruit, even honey. All he had to do was come down at dawn, and the feast was waiting. His life was easy. The other bears in the forest hunted, climbed trees, and traveled long distances to find food. Not him. He had everything served to him. Until one winter, disaster struck. A storm ravaged the village, and the people fled. The bear came down as usual, But for the first time in his life, he found nothing. He waited, dug through the snow, searched the ruined houses. Nothing. Hunger hit him like never before, and for the first time in years he had to hunt to survive. But what happened? He couldn't. His paws were clumsy, his speed pathetic. He spotted a hare and ran after it, but was exhausted within seconds. He tried climbing a tree to find fruit, but his own weight held him back. The forest that once belonged to him now rejected him. He had spent so much time in comfort that he had forgotten how to be a bear. His body couldn't handle it, but worse than that, his instincts were gone. Comfort had weakened him without him even realizing it. Listen carefully, my friend, because this isn't just a fable. It's the trap we all fall into. Psychologist Walter Riso explains that our minds are stubborn and lazy by nature. They don't like change. They avoid it. They prefer what's familiar, predictable, effortless. Why? Because stepping out of your comfort zone creates discomfort, and your brain is wired to run from anything it perceives as a threat, even something as simple as waking up early. And here's the interesting part. Your brain reacts as if you were in real danger. Alert! Don't do it. It's uncomfortable. Go back. Your internal alarms start blaring. Beep, beep, beep. That's why you resist doing anything that takes you out of your comfort zone. It's like sitting on an old, worn-out couch. You know it's falling apart. You sink into it every time you sit down, and it's terrible for your back. But you keep using it, because it's easier than going to the store, picking out a new one, and dealing with the hassle of replacing it. The Stoics understood something most people avoid. Discomfort is not a punishment. It's a tool to make you stronger. That's why they didn't run from effort or always seek the easy way out. On the contrary, they tested themselves on purpose. Seneca, for example, would sleep on the floor from time to time, even though he lived a comfortable life, just to remind himself that he could endure any hardship. But don't worry, I'm not asking you to do the same. I'm asking you to make small changes that will take you where you truly want to be. Because the only way to defeat your weak version is to expose yourself to difficulty, to face the cold, the effort, the resistance. Only then, when the moment of truth comes, will you be ready. Imagine this. You get home after a long, exhausting day. You know you should cook something healthy, but just thinking about it makes you groan. Your brain, trained in comfort, seeks the easy way out. You order a pizza, pour yourself a glass of wine, and relax in front of the screen. Instant relief. But how many more times, how much longer will you keep choosing what makes you weaker? Do you want to break that cycle and make discomfort your best ally? Believe me, my friend, I know it's not easy. But it's the only way to unleash your full potential. First, change the question in your mind. Every time you're about to take the easy way out, don't ask yourself, what do I feel like doing? Instead ask, what would make me stronger? If you're about to stay in bed instead of working out, if you're about to order takeout instead of cooking, if you're about to procrastinate on something important, stop and reframe the question. This tricks your brain and puts you in action mode instead of letting laziness take over. Second, challenge yourself with small acts of discomfort every day. You don't need to start with something extreme. Set simple but consistent challenges. For example, go for a walk in the rain instead of waiting for a sunny day. Or wash your face with cold water on a winter morning. Are these things small? Yes, but they train your mind to stop fearing discomfort and start seeing it as an ally. And now tell me, are you going to keep running from what makes you stronger? Or are you going to start rewriting your story today? Lesson 10. Be the kind of person you say you admire. Think about this. Rome, sunrise. The sun hasn't yet touched the columns of the imperial palace. Marcus Aurelius sits alone, a parchment and a stylus in his hands. Outside, the world is waiting, full of noise, commands, and battles. But before facing any of that, he asks himself a question most people avoid. What kind of man do I want to be today? He's not thinking about victories, politics, or power. He's thinking about his character, about living with dignity, with calm, with truth. And he writes, "The perfection of character is this, to live each day as if it were your last, without frenzy, without laziness, without pretending." He wasn't doing it for anyone else, he was doing it for himself. Those pages weren't a diary of victories. They were a mirror of coherence. Marcus Aurelius wasn't focused on what he wanted to achieve, but on who he was becoming. Because achievements fade, but identity stays. And that's the question you should be asking yourself too. Who are you choosing to become with every action? Because every gesture, every word, every choice is building your character, for better or for worse. Now imagine this. You're following someone you deeply admire. It could be a philosopher, an athlete, a friend, or even someone anonymous, but with a calm, steady presence that inspires you. You watch how they stay centered while others lose control. You see them keep their word even when no one's watching. And you think, I wish I were like that. But here's the truth. You can be, if you start acting like that person would, right here and now. Maybe you say you value discipline, but you keep putting things off. Maybe you say you admire calm, but you let anger drag you around. Maybe you claim to value honesty, but you lie to avoid discomfort. Saying what you believe doesn't make you that person. Acting on it does. Every action is a silent vote for the identity you're building. Marcus Aurelius wasn't born wise. He built himself. In the middle of war, exhaustion, and power, he practiced coherence. Every morning he woke up with one intention: to not let the world steal his calm. And even though he was an emperor, he understood that the greatest mastery is self-mastery. His true victory wasn't conquering land, it was staying at peace with himself. Stoicism teaches that living according to nature doesn't mean settling for mediocrity. It means acting according to your reason and your values. You don't have to invent a new identity. You just have to rediscover the best part of you. That strong, calm, and consistent version of yourself is already there. It just needs you to start acting like it. Now, my friend, think of someone you truly admire. But this time, flip the scene. Imagine that instead of following them, you followed yourself for a whole day. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. Watch yourself with honesty. You say you want to be disciplined, but you hit snooze 3 times. You say you value serenity, but you lose your cool over traffic or one comment. You say you want to live with purpose, but spend hours distracted by things that don't matter. That gap between what you say you admire and what you do each day, that's the invisible wall keeping you from your best version. Here's the good news. You don't need to break that wall down in one blow. Just start acting differently, even a little. Because every time you choose to behave like the person you admire, you're getting closer to becoming them. Every decision, no matter how small, is a silent vote for the identity you're shaping. When you say, I want to be disciplined, but skip your commitments, your mind learns that your words don't mean much. But when you act with discipline, even when you don't feel like it, you're training your character. It's like telling your mind, this is who we are now. Actions shape identity, not intentions. That's the key. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to act. Identity doesn't change through thinking. It changes through movement. Act first. The feeling comes later. Seneca said it best. Act the way you want to be, and soon you'll be the way you act. Don't wait to feel strong before acting like someone strong. Start today, even if it feels forced. Every repetition counts, every effort builds. And one day, without realizing it, that way of acting will feel natural. There's a moment when everything changes, when you stop asking, what should I do? And start asking, what would my best self do right now? That one question can change everything, because it doesn't push you into the future, it anchors you in the present. It forces you to decide with clarity and intention. It reminds you that what you do now is writing the story of who you are. And here comes one of Stoicism's most powerful lessons. Who you are when no one is watching. That's who you really are. The Stoic doesn't seek recognition. He doesn't need an audience. His integrity is his refuge. His fulfillment comes from living in alignment with his values, even if no one notices. That's why his life has meaning. Every single day, even the hard ones. Remember this: goals are achieved and forgotten. But when you become someone with purpose, every day matters, even the difficult ones. Because the Stoic isn't chasing results, he's chasing coherence. And when he finds it, his entire life shifts. Tell me in the comments, what quality of the person you admire are you going to practice today? Or just write, "Today I act as my best version." Because there's no better moment to become that person than right now. Here, today. Lesson 11. Your strength is already there, you just hide it. My friend, how many times have you thought you couldn't handle something, and then, when there was no other choice, you did? How many times have you reacted to a crisis as if you'd always known what to do, even though you were shaking inside? And how many times after pulling it off, have you found yourself saying, "I didn't know I could"? Picture this. In your own backyard, right under your feet, there's a chest that's been buried for years. Inside, there are no jewels or coins, but something far more valuable. All the tools you need to face any challenge and win. They've been there all along, but one day, without realizing it, you started covering it with dust, dry leaves, and dirt. Every excuse, every fear, every "I can't" was another layer on top. So it's not that you've lost your strength, it's that you've buried it yourself under tons of habit and self-limitations. I'm sure you've had a moment when that chest opened on its own. You're at work and suddenly a crisis hits. An important client calls, furious, demanding answers right away. Normally, you'd let someone else handle it. But that day you didn't. Without thinking, you took control. You spoke calmly, measured every word, steered the conversation, and within minutes, the storm was gone. When you hung up, you stood there for a second thinking, "I didn't know I could do that." And there's the truth, you always could, but you had forgotten. That's your real strength, the one that shows up when your weak version doesn't have time to get in the way. You don't have to invent a new strength, my friend. You just have to remember you already carry it inside. The same thing happened to Diana Niad, the swimmer who, at 64, swam from Cuba to Florida. She had tried decades earlier without success, but never gave up. When she finally made it, she said, "It's not about being younger or stronger. It's about deciding you already are." It wasn't a miracle. It was digging deep enough to find what had always been there. Marcus Aurelius wrote it in his Meditations. "Look within yourself. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig." He wasn't talking about creating something new, but about clearing away the dirt, about stopping yourself from burying your own capacity. Your best self isn't hidden in some distant future, but under layers of thoughts telling you it's not the right time. You're not ready. Something's missing. Haven't you noticed? When you act without giving your doubts time to speak, your natural response is far more decisive and confident. What changes isn't your ability. It's the space you give that part of you that always wants to hold you back. That's why, if you want to stop living as if you were weak, we're going to do it in 3 clear steps. And yes, my friend, no excuses. Right now, remember a specific moment when you acted as your best self without even planning it. Maybe it was that time you stood up for a teammate in a meeting, or when you solved a tricky situation at home in minutes. No, I think once I might have. I want a specific moment. The more detailed, the better. Then ask yourself, how were you standing? Were you upright, owning the room, or hunched in the corner? What tone of voice did you use? Firm and clear, or shakier than jelly? Where were you? At your desk, in the kitchen, in the middle of the street? Even silly details count. Were you holding your favorite coffee? Wearing your lucky jacket? It may sound funny, but your brain links those elements to confidence, and repeating them can trigger it faster than you think. Now replicate it, but on purpose. If that day you were standing tall with your shoulders back, do it today, even in front of your computer. If you used a firmer tone, try speaking like that even when ordering lunch. And no, you won't look strange. You'll look confident. It's like putting your body in hero mode so your mind follows. If you keep doing it, you'll notice something interesting. Your weak version starts running out of space to slip in. The key is not letting it close the chest again. That voice that says someday is the same one stealing from you today. And as long as you believe it, you'll keep burying what's already yours. Think of every challenge as a chance to pull out another tool, a tough phone call, a workout you don't feel like doing, an uncomfortable decision. All of it is digging, and every shovelful brings you closer to the strength that never left. So now tell me, are you going to keep acting like you're not strong enough, or are you going to open that chest and use what's already yours? Tell me in the comments. And if you know for sure that starting today you're going to live as your best self, write, "Today I open my chest and bury my weak self." Lesson 12. The war never ends. Imagine a warrior on the battlefield. He has fought with courage, endured exhaustion, and overcome obstacles. But at the end of the day, when he thinks it's all over, he looks around and realizes the hardest truth of all. The war never stops. Because every sunrise brings a new enemy, a new challenge, a new temptation to give up. And now tell me, what did you think? That by changing a few habits, by making better decisions for a while, you were done? Well, think again. The war against your weak version isn't a one-day battle. It's a war that must be fought every single day. Because every morning that fragile version of yourself will try to take back control. It will try to convince you that skipping discipline for a day won't hurt, that you can ease up, that you've done enough. And that's where most people fall. Not because they didn't change, but because they never made that change permanent. Now, it's not just about avoiding a relapse. It's about making sure this process is sustainable. Because listen carefully, changing for a month or two is not enough. If you don't turn this into a lifestyle, everything you've done up to this point will be worthless. Psychology explains this well. Our brain hates drastic change, and when it feels something isn't sustainable, it pushes us back to what's familiar. That's why so many people start strong but eventually lose their way, because they focused on making a huge effort instead of building a system they could actually maintain. So now you know, don't aim for perfection, aim for consistency. Marcus Aurelius summed it up in a single sentence. Behind everything you do, let there be one intention, to do it as someone strong and worthy. For him, this wasn't just a philosophy, it was a way of life. He knew that greatness isn't a place you reach and stay forever. It's a choice you make every single day. Now, how do you make this sustainable? First, make sure this change is real. Remember what we talked about before, because it's crucial. Don't tell yourself you're trying to improve. You are someone who improves. Don't think you want to be strong. You are strong. Your identity shouldn't rely on what you achieved yesterday. It should be reinforced by what you choose today. Second, have a clear strategy for the moments when your weak version tries to return. Those days will come. You cannot rely on motivation, nor can you expect to always feel like doing the right thing. What actually works is structuring your life in a way that your best version doesn't depend on your mood in the moment. Third, understand that change won't always be exciting. Many times it won't be. So what can you do in those moments? Reinvent yourself. Every now and then, you need to level up. Like a warrior who refuses to let his sword rust, you cannot stick to the same routine forever. What does this mean? That every time you start feeling comfortable, challenge yourself again. Find something that forces you to grow. Shift your focus, set a new challenge, test yourself in something new. So here we are, my friend. You've reached the end of this path, but in reality, this isn't an end. It's a starting point. Now tell me, are you going to let your weak version rise again? Or are you going to make sure that every day is another proof that you've defeated it for good? Lesson 13. Be careful who you let into your mind. Have you ever felt like you're trying to change, but the people around you won't let you? You start taking care of your habits, your thoughts, your decisions, and suddenly you notice the weird looks, The subtle comments, the passive-aggressive jokes, they don't do it out of malice. It's just what they're used to. They knew you as one version of yourself, and your new one makes them uncomfortable. It reminds them that they could change too, but they'd rather not. Even the great Stoics had to be careful about this. They weren't born wise or immune to the influence of others. And I'll prove it to you with something Seneca wrote in one of his most personal letters. He said to his friend Lucilius, "Keep company with those who make you better. Welcome those you can make better." That one sentence says it all. For Seneca, relationships weren't a pastime. They were moral training. He understood that just like the body gets sick in toxic environments, the soul can also get contaminated if you don't choose your company wisely. Being around wise people wasn't elitism, it was discipline. A wise person protects their mind the same way they protect what they eat or breathe. Think of your mind as a house. Every person you let in leaves footprints, some clean, some muddy. Some walk in and open the windows, letting in light. Others, without meaning to, turn off the lights and leave you in the dark. A Stoic learns to protect that inner space, not because it's weak, but because they know their peace is sacred. Relationships are like fire. There are people who warm you without burning you. They energize you, light you up, inspire you. And then there are people who drain you, who suck up your oxygen with their complaints, negativity, or constant need for attention. And if you don't learn to protect your fire, you end up burning out. Let me tell you something. A few years ago, speaker Simon Sinek shared that early in his career, he surrounded himself with people who were constantly competing. Everyone wanted to be right. Everyone wanted to shine. And even though he learned things, he left those meetings feeling exhausted. Until one day, he met someone who listened silently, without interrupting, and at the end simply said, "You don't have to prove anything. Just be useful." That sentence changed him. From that moment on, he began surrounding himself with people who didn't make him feel small, but focused, and his career and his mind changed completely. You can do the same. You don't need to cut people out of your life, but you do need to adjust the distance. Some conversations you can have with everyone, others only with those who truly understand you. There are people you can share your plans with, and others where it's better to talk about anything else. That's not selfishness, that's wisdom. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be prepared to be thought foolish or strange." And he was right. When you decide to grow, some will laugh at you, some won't understand, and others will try to pull you back to the old you. Growth makes people uncomfortable, especially those who don't want to grow themselves. But that's no reason to stop. The Stoic doesn't chase approval, they chase coherence. They know that if their peace depends on others, it's already lost. My friend, be very careful who you let into your mind, because even if it doesn't seem like it, many times the words of others become your thoughts. What you hear often ends up being what you believe. That's why you need to surround yourself with people who don't compete with you, but inspire you. People who tell you the truth with respect, not resentment. People who celebrate your growth without feeling threatened by it. Also learn to set boundaries without guilt. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. Sometimes it's the purest form of self-respect. Protecting your energy doesn't mean rejecting others. It means taking care of yourself. You can't become your best self if you let other people's noise pull you off track. Try this. For 1 week, pay close attention to how you feel after speaking with each person. If you feel lighter, motivated, and calm, they're adding value. If you feel drained, tense, or confused, maybe it's time to put a little distance. Not to cut ties, just to protect your mind. The Stoics knew how easily the soul can be corrupted by the wrong company. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this again and again in his journal, writing that he had to stay true to his integrity, even when surrounded by ambitious and corrupt men. His greatest achievement wasn't ruling an empire. It was ruling himself. Taking care of your relationships doesn't mean closing yourself off from the world. It means opening up wisely. Because if your environment doesn't lift you, it drags you down. And a soul that wants to grow can't stay chained to the past. So here's your challenge for today. Choose carefully who you share your time and your thoughts with. Notice who pulls you toward your best version and who pulls you away from it. Because just like the body, your mind needs good company to stay healthy. And if you feel like something inside you is waking up, don't fight it. Take the next step. There's another video waiting for you that can help you keep building that version of you that's already starting to shine through. Watch it now, before you slip back into the same distractions as always. Lesson 14. Let go of the weight that holds you down. There are hot air balloons that could cross entire mountain ranges, but they never take off because they're still tied to the ground. The fire is lit, the hot air ready to lift them, the wind blowing in their favor. And yet they don't move. Why? Because the ropes are still holding on to sandbags that are too heavy. And here's the uncomfortable truth. We all have those sandbags in our lives. They're not always material things. Sometimes they're people, habits, or beliefs we carry around that, even if we tell ourselves they don't weigh that much, are actually keeping us from flying. Think about your week. You start Monday determined to move forward with fresh ideas and motivation. But little by little, without noticing, you start spending energy on conversations that lead nowhere. You reply to messages from people who only complain, accept invitations you don't want, and say yes to tasks that add nothing to your goals. By Friday, the tank is empty. And the worst part, your real project, the one that truly matters to you, is still waiting. Sound familiar? Bodybuilder Ernestine Shepherd experienced this firsthand. At over 70 years old, she kept hearing the same phrase, "You're too old to try." That voice, repeated by friends and even family, was a sandbag keeping her balloon tied down. One day she decided she couldn't keep listening to that if she wanted to fly. She distanced herself from those influences, started training, taking care of herself. And years later, at 74, she entered the Guinness World Records as the world's oldest competitive female bodybuilder. What changed her life wasn't just exercise. It was letting go of the emotional weight holding her back. Marcus Aurelius had a clear method for avoiding the pull of what drained him. In a palace where everyone wanted something from him, he filtered ruthlessly what added no value. He didn't spend hours arguing with people whose goal was to impose their ego. He didn't attend every banquet just to please others. And he didn't carry other people's guilt. It was as if he inspected the hive every day, removing anything that could sicken it before it spread. That's why he wrote, "What's not good for the hive is not good for the bee." He understood that caring for the whole started with caring for himself and his mental space. This is where you need to get serious with yourself and act as Marcus Aurelius would. Start by spotting those energy leaks, one by one. Make a list, even if it's uncomfortable to see it in writing. Maybe it's that friend who always calls just to complain, that activity you do purely out of habit, or that routine that leaves you drained and unmotivated. Next, reduce their presence gradually but firmly. No, you don't have to cut everything overnight, but you do need to set clear boundaries. It could be spending less time with someone who always drags you into negativity, or saying, "I can't today," when you know that plan adds nothing to your life. Even something as simple as muting a chat that steals hours from you can make a difference. Finally, fill the space you've cleared with fuel for your best self. Surround yourself with people who push you to improve. Dedicate time to activities that move you closer to your goals, and build habits that strengthen your body and mind. Just like a hot air balloon needs less weight and more hot air to rise, you need to drop dead weight and feed what lifts you higher. Think of it this way: if your balloon is tied with 10 ropes and you cut only one, it'll move a little but still stay on the ground. If you cut them all, even a light wind will lift it. No, it's not about living in isolation. It's about being selective with what you allow around you. Because as the saying goes, what you tolerate, you feed. Killing the part of you that holds you back isn't a one-day dramatic act. It's a series of conscious decisions where you choose to release, let go, and prioritize what takes you higher. Sometimes the hardest part isn't lighting the fire. It's having the courage to cut the ropes. Lesson 15. Live one day as your best self. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. How would your day look if you woke up with the mindset of someone unstoppable? If you were disciplined, confident, and focused? If every decision you made aligned with your best self? What would you do differently? Today, you are not you. At least not the version of yourself that has been putting off your potential. Today, you are going to live as the person you've always wanted to be. So let's play a game. You are the main character in a movie. But not just any movie, it's like The Truman Show, but with one major difference. This time, you control the story. Picture this. From the moment you wake up, cameras are recording your every move. Millions of people are watching how you live this day. How do you want them to see you? You get up without hesitation, without hitting snooze. You take a cold shower because you are in control. You eat breakfast without distractions, without your phone in your hand. You dress with intention because today you are not someone who hides. You are someone who leads. You walk out the door with a different energy, standing tall, confident with every step. You arrive at work, and instead of heading straight to your desk with your head down, you walk in with presence. You greet people with certainty, make eye contact. You are not someone who blends into the background. You are someone who leaves an impact. And when it's time to make decisions, you don't hesitate. If a problem arises, instead of complaining or waiting for someone else to fix it, you take the initiative. You propose a solution. You speak with confidence. Today, you are not the version of yourself that avoids challenges. You are the version that faces them head-on. But this transformation isn't just at work. Today, you don't let anyone walk over you. If someone speaks to you disrespectfully, you don't lower your head like before. You set boundaries. If you used to stay quiet to avoid discomfort, today, you speak your mind with certainty. And in your personal life, things change too. Today, you decide to surprise your partner with a spontaneous date. Not because it's a special occasion, but because you are someone who values their relationships, someone who doesn't let routine dull them. You get home, and instead of mindlessly scrolling through social media, you train. And you don't train like someone who is trying to be disciplined. You train like someone who is disciplined. You push harder, challenge yourself more, because you are no longer the version that quits at the first sign of discomfort. And at the end of the day, you realize something. You didn't need motivation. You didn't need a miracle. You only needed to act like your best self. Look at Matthew McConaughey. Early in his career, no one took him seriously as an actor. Everyone saw him as the rom-com guy. But instead of accepting that identity, he decided to rewrite the story. He said, "No, I am a serious actor." For a while, he turned down roles, endured rejection, and waited for his moment. He acted like the actor he wanted to be before the world saw him that way, and eventually, he made it happen. So be like him. Fake it until you unleash your full potential. Because here's the big question. If you can do it for one day, what's stopping you from doing it every day? Epictetus put it simply, don't wait to become better. Start acting like someone better. You don't need to wait months to transform, you just need to prove it right now. Lesson 16. Vigilance never stops. When was the last time you checked if your light was still on? Do you remember the last time you let your guard down, and without realizing it, those old habits slipped back in? Maybe it was skipping a workout just for today, or saying tomorrow to something you knew you needed to do today. And what seemed like an exception slowly turned into routine. Suddenly, the part of you you'd already left behind was back in control. Vigilance never stops. Picture a lighthouse on the coast. Night after night, its light guides ships. It doesn't matter if there's a storm or calm seas, if the sky is pitch black or full of stars, it must always shine. The day it goes dark, even for a few hours, a ship can crash. Your life works the same way. The moment you stop watching, you leave a gap for your weak version to slip back in. And believe me, it doesn't need much time to settle in. You see it in everyday life. You start the year strong, training, eating well, working on your goals. Months pass, and when you feel like you've got it under control, you ease up. You skip workouts because one won't matter. You start eating anything, pushing off what's important. And before you know it, you're no longer steering the wheel. Your comfortable, lazy version has silently taken over. Look at Haruki Murakami. The Japanese author has kept a strict routine for decades, waking up early, writing for hours, running or swimming daily, and going to bed at the same time. He says his discipline isn't a phase, it's the only way to keep his creativity from rusting. There's no magic, just constant vigilance. If he whose life's work is to create, let himself relax just a little, he'd lose the rhythm that allows him to write books read by millions. In Stoicism, this idea is crystal clear. Epictetus put it simply but firmly. Freedom isn't reached in a single step. It's maintained with continuous vigilance. The hard part isn't reaching your best version once. It's not letting it crumble over time. For a Stoic, strength isn't a prize you win. It's a habit you feed daily. And this isn't just philosophy. Angela Duckworth, psychologist and author of Grit, shows in her research that long-term consistency outweighs talent in achieving any goal. It's not the spark at the start that gets you far. It's the ability to keep turning the light back on when no one's clapping and the initial motivation is gone. So ask yourself, how can you keep your light on? First, set your daily non-negotiable minimum. And by minimum, I mean something so easy to do it would be ridiculous not to. If your goal is to get fit, it could be 20 squats while the coffee brews. If you're learning a language, maybe it's 5 minutes of practice while brushing your teeth or riding the bus. The point is that even on the worst days, you keep going. Because, my friend, if you only train or study when you feel like it, you'll never kill the part of you that hunts for excuses. Second, track everything. Don't keep it in your head, because that's where your weak version cheats. Use a calendar where you mark an X for each day completed, an app with alerts, or even a simple sheet on the fridge. Seeing that chain of marked days becomes addictive, and breaking it stings. If you skip today, tomorrow you'll see that gap and it'll bother you. It's like looking at a wall with a perfect row of bricks, and right in the middle, one is cracked. You can't leave it like that. Third, level up slowly. Don't go overboard overnight. If you run 3 kilometers, go to 3.5. If you meditate 10 minutes, make it 12. It's a mental game. Each small increase reminds your mind that stagnation isn't an option here. Because if everything stays the same for too long, your best version gets too comfortable, and your worst version starts waking up. My friend, never forget that your weak version doesn't rest. It's there, crouching, waiting for the day you think, I don't need to try so hard anymore. Truly killing it means never giving it even a second's advantage. It means keeping your light on every single day, even when it feels unnecessary. Because when your vigilance is constant, you don't just avoid crashing, you move toward a harbor your lazy self could never reach. Killing that part of you that always looks for the easy excuse is like opening the door and letting the true owner of your life walk in. This video has been a clear call. You can't keep sharing space with the version of you that holds you back, settles, and silently steals your days. Every decision you make from today on is another blow that weakens it, until it disappears completely. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "Today I throw my weak self out of my life." 17th lesson. Leave no room for weakness. Have you ever tried lighting a campfire with a single match? The flame ignites quickly, seems strong, but in seconds, it dies out. That's motivation. Discipline, on the other hand, is like a steady fire that keeps burning even when the wind howls. If you rely on the match, you'll be left in the dark. But if you build a solid fire, no matter what happens, the flame will stay alive. Want proof? Let's look at Kobe Bryant. He woke up at 4 in the morning to train. Do you think it was because he wanted to get up? Because he was always super motivated? That he didn't enjoy the warmth of his bed in the morning? No, it wasn't any of that. He didn't rely on feelings, motivation, or whether it was cold or hot outside. While most of his teammates were still sleeping, he had already spent hours on the court, perfecting his craft. He didn't wait to feel like it. He didn't ask himself if he was in the mood to train. He did it because it had to be done. And that was his secret. He left no room for weakness. Many people think he was lucky or just naturally gifted, but luck doesn't exist. As Seneca said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. What you didn't see was the silent work, the early mornings, the sacrifices. Now, put yourself in this situation. You've been saying for months, maybe even years, that you want to start a business. You keep repeating it in your head, even telling your friends about it. But every day, you're still in the same place. One day, you get home from work and think about finally sitting down to do it. But you're tired. You tell yourself, after such a long day, I deserve to rest. So you sink into the couch, put on a show, and think, tomorrow for sure, no excuses. But when tomorrow comes, the problem isn't exhaustion, it's insecurity. I don't know enough yet. Maybe I should keep researching. So you spend hours watching business videos, reading advice, looking for inspiration, but doing absolutely nothing. The weekend arrives, and you think about dedicating some time to it. But there's always something easier to do. A hangout with friends, an afternoon of rest, a new excuse that sounds reasonable. Because starting something takes effort, and deep down, you're still waiting for the perfect moment, as if one day you'll wake up feeling ready. But here's the truth. Every time you choose the easy way out, you hand over control to your weak version, the one that postpones, the one that doubts, the one that waits to feel ready. And just like that, another year goes by, and your business is still just an idea in your head because you keep leaving room for weakness. Now, how can you apply this in your life and kill your weak version? First, set a non-negotiable time commitment. If you want your business to take off, you must schedule a fixed time for it, like a real job. 1 hour a day, every day, no excuses. It doesn't matter if you're tired, if you had a bad day, or if you don't feel like it. You do it because it's part of the process. Second, set a non-negotiable focus commitment. If every time you sit down to work, you get distracted by social media, your phone, or any random nonsense, you'll never move forward. Put your phone in another room, use a focus technique like the Pomodoro method, block distractions. Your business won't build itself. Third, set a non-negotiable action commitment. No more perfectionism, no more waiting for the right time. Every day, you must take at least one concrete step toward your goal. It could be reaching out to a client, creating content, improving a product, anything tangible. If there's no action, there's no progress. This is what separates those who get results from those who don't. Discipline is not negotiable. It's not something you do when you feel like it. It's something you do because it's part of who you are. Lesson number 18. Time is your most valuable currency. Every morning, without asking, someone deposits a silent treasure into your account. 24 coins. No interest, no savings, no way to keep them for tomorrow, no advance if you run out. And when the day ends, whatever you didn't use vanishes as if it never existed. You know it, I know it. Yet we keep living as if that account were eternal. Think about it. How many of those coins do you spend on things you can't even remember by the end of the day? I'm sure it's happened to you. Sunday night, with fresh energy, you promise yourself, this week will be different. But Monday comes and you start paying with your coins without even noticing. 5 on endless scrolling while you eat breakfast. 3 on meetings that could have been a quick message. 2 on conversations that just drain you. And a few more on arguments that change nothing. By the end of the week, when Friday arrives, it's not that you've run out of time. It's that your balance was spent on nonsense. You've moved a lot of coins, but invested in nothing that counts. It's like having a bag of gold and using it to buy smoke. This isn't just a modern problem. Throughout history, those who lived as their best selves understood that time was the most fragile and precious resource they had. Ozan Varol, former NASA engineer, learned this suddenly. From the outside, his life looked perfect. A stable job as a university professor, recognition, security. But inside, he felt like he was spending his coins each day on something that didn't fulfill him. His choice wasn't impulsive, but it was conscious. He left the university and began investing his days in writing, creating projects, and living in a way that made him feel alive. And that's the key. It's not about how much time you have, but about where you put it. You don't need anyone to tell you that time is your most valuable asset. But the Stoics didn't just repeat it. They practiced it with surgical discipline. Seneca made it clear. It's not that we have little time, it's that we waste much. And he himself mastered the art of avoiding it. Surrounded by people seeking his advice, inviting him to banquets and meetings that were pure social theater, he still knew when to say no. He refused the unnecessary without guilt, because he understood that each banquet was one less page written. Each empty conversation was a deep thought left unborn. He reserved sacred hours to reflect, write, and sharpen his mind, like a warrior who guards his sword. He wasn't antisocial, he was strategic. And here's the lesson. Every yes you give to what doesn't matter is a silent no to what could change your life. Now, my friend, it's time to look yourself in the eye. Where are you spending your coins? Be honest. You don't have a lack of time, you have a lack of clear priorities. And here's where you can start changing it. Choose just one action that, if you complete it today, will make your day worthwhile. Not 5, not 10, 1. Put it at the very start of your day before noise and interruptions steal your coins without you realizing. If you want to start living as your best self, wishing isn't enough. You have to kill the part of you that spends time as if it were free. The version that says, "I'll do it later," while opening another tab, that accepts commitments you don't want, that excuses itself with, "I didn't have time," when in reality, it gave it away. Then protect that moment like a treasure. Turn off notifications, close anything unnecessary, tell whoever you must that you're not available. It sounds simple, but this is where most people fail. No, it's not that we lack discipline. It's that we leave the door open to everything that steals our focus. At the end of the day, do a quick review, not to punish yourself, but to see if your coins went where you wanted or if you gave them away. If the answer doesn't please you, adjust tomorrow. If it does, figure out how to repeat it, because what gets repeated becomes habit, and habits are the quiet but powerful way to kill the weak version that holds you back. Every coin you don't use to move forward is one someone else is using to write your story for you. And believe me, my friend, you don't want that. Today you have 24. Tomorrow maybe you'll have them too. But one day, without warning, they'll stop coming. And on that day, you won't want to look back and realize you spent them holding on to what you always wanted to let go. So cut the useless spending. Kill the part of you that settles. And start investing as if your life depended on it, because it does. Lesson 19. You don't want to be strong, you already are. My friend, do you want to be stronger, braver, more disciplined? Do you wish you could wake up every day knowing you can face anything? Let's be clear. You don't need to become strong. You don't need to arrive at discipline, resilience, or courage. You already have it, you just don't see it yet. Think of Rikako Iki. She was one of Japan's most promising swimmers. Her future was set, her talent undeniable. But one day, her world collapsed. Leukemia, the body that once propelled her through the water with astonishing speed, became weak. Chemotherapy, isolation, months without training. Everything that defined her as an athlete seemed to fade away. She could have accepted defeat. She could have told herself, "I'm not a swimmer anymore, my career is over." But she didn't. Instead of embracing the identity of someone sick, she saw herself for what she had always been, a competitor. And when her body was ready, she got back in the water. She trained again. She competed again. She proved that her identity was never that of someone defeated. It was that of a fighter. Listen closely, because this affects you directly. Your identity shapes your actions. If you tell yourself, "I'm just not a morning person, I'm too lazy," your brain will accept that as truth. It won't matter how many times you try to wake up early or be more consistent. Your mind will sabotage you because it has already decided you are a lazy person. And so you'll hit snooze again. Imagine this. You're at the office. Your boss calls you into their office and offers you a promotion. They explain that they believe in you, that you've proven your capabilities, that it's time to take the next step. And that's when everything in your head starts to fall apart. I'm not ready. There are people better than me. I'm going to fail. You walk out of the meeting with a forced smile. You say you'll think about it, that you'll take a couple of days to decide. But the moment you step through the door, the thoughts flood in. Why did they offer it to me? Someone else would do a better job. I'll embarrass myself if I take it and can't handle it. It's better to stay where I am. It's not so bad. It's safer. You spend the whole day overthinking. You go home, but your mind is still trapped. The offer lingers, but the voice in your head keeps whispering that you're not enough. You eat dinner with that doubt. You go to bed with that doubt. And the next morning, the fear is still there, sitting on your chest. Until suddenly, something shifts. You look in the mirror, exhausted from overthinking, and in the reflection, right behind you, you see him. Epictetus. He's not smiling. He's not looking at you with sympathy. He just says one sentence, clear and firm. Don't explain your philosophy, live it. And then he crosses his arms and stares at you like you just said the dumbest thing in the world. You want to know if you're capable? Then do it. Stop making excuses. Act. You try to respond, but I don't know if I'm ready. Epictetus shakes his head. Since when do Stoics talk about what they want to be? We just are. You imagine telling him, but I'm afraid of failing. So what? Don't we learn more from failure than from comfort? You want to throw in one last but his gaze cuts through you. Listen, kid. Either you accept the challenge, or you keep living as a slave to your own mind. And just like that, he vanishes. You're left in silence. You look at your reflection again. You're still you. But something has changed. Because the truth is this, you already are strong. You just need to start acting like it. So are you ready to kill that weak version of yourself? First, change your language. Don't say, I don't know if I'm ready for the promotion. Say, I am the person who can do this. Don't say, I'll try. Say, I will prove it. Your brain needs clear instructions. And if you command it like a strong person, it will start acting like one. Second, act as if you already were that leader. Don't wait to feel ready. Ask yourself, if I already had the promotion, how would I behave today? Then do it. Without overthinking. Without hesitation. As if the position were already yours. Third, stop asking for permission. Don't wait to feel ready. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to prove what's already inside you. My friend, your mind has been playing against you for too long, but that ends today. Reprogram your identity, and you will unleash your full potential. Lesson 20. Stop wasting time. If today were your last day in this world, what would you do differently? Would you still be glued to your phone, watching other people's lives? Would you waste time on pointless arguments? Would you keep telling yourself that tomorrow is the day you'll finally start that project, work out, or change your life? Spoiler, no. Yet here you are, letting the days slip away as if they were infinite, as if there will always be a tomorrow to do what truly matters, as if time were a bank account that never runs out. Imagine an hourglass. Each grain of sand represents a day of your life. You don't know how many are left at the top. Maybe a lot, or maybe just a few. But one thing is certain, once they fall, there's no way to get them back. Now tell me, how many grains have you already wasted on things that don't lead you anywhere? On how many likes your photo got, on what your neighbor is doing, or whether those two people from the party are still together or broke up? Steve Jobs understood that time was the one thing he couldn't buy. Every morning he looked in the mirror and asked himself, if today were the last day of my life, would I do what I'm about to do? If the answer was no too many days in a row, he knew something had to change. And he changed it. He didn't wait, he didn't postpone, he didn't make excuses about why it wasn't the right time yet. He simply acted. Marcus Aurelius also understood that the key was to accept death, not as something negative, but as a compass forcing you to focus on what truly matters. His words say it all. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say. An emperor, the most powerful man of his time, reminding himself that his time was limited. Because it was, and because ours is too. Now think about yourself. You keep acting like you're going to live forever. You let the days pass as if you were guaranteed decades more. But tell me, how many of those days have truly been yours? How many have you spent doing what you really wanted, living how you really wanted? And how many have you given away to routine, to procrastination, to distractions? We fool ourselves into thinking we're busy, that we don't have time, that we can't do more. But in reality, it's a choice. Because listen to this, time isn't spent, it's invested. And if you feel like you're wasting it, here's a simple technique from the book. Help. What would you do if today were your last day? Each night before bed, ask yourself, did I use my time today for something that truly mattered? If the answer is no, change something tomorrow, even if it's small. You don't need to flip your entire life upside down overnight. Just take one step in the right direction. But here's the most important part. Don't postpone. Don't say, I'll do it tomorrow. Don't wait for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. The difference between those who accomplish something and those who don't isn't talent. It isn't luck. It's that the ones who succeed choose to act before they feel ready. They don't let life drag them along on autopilot. They ask themselves whether they're truly living or just existing, and they take action before it's too late. Remember this, the time you waste today is life you will never get back. If you don't realize that now, one day you might look back and ask yourself, what the hell did I spend my life on? Don't let it be too late. Make every grain of sand count. My friend, they say that the real battle isn't won in a single fight, but in consistency. That it doesn't matter how many times you defeat an enemy if you let them rise again the next day. And here we are, at the final step, the last test to kill once and for all the weak version of yourself that has tried to hold you back for so long. Are you ready to find out? Lesson 21. Improve 1%. Each day, picture yourself looking in the mirror one morning, promising to change. You start off full of energy, that fresh determination of someone who feels the moment has finally come to start, for real. But as the days go by, the motivation fades. You slip back into old habits, familiar excuses, not because you don't want to improve, but because you're expecting change to happen all at once. We've been tricked into thinking transformation is sudden, but the Stoics knew the truth. Real change isn't measured in days. It's built through consistency. Epictetus understood this from a young age. He was born a slave. He had no freedom or power, but each day he trained the one thing no one could ever take from him: his mind. He observed himself, mastered himself in the everyday. He didn't wait for the world to be fair before he started growing. He started anyway. To every humiliation, he responded with calm. To every hardship, with reflection. Slowly, he sharpened his character until it became unbreakable. Not because the world changed, but because he did. Centuries later, writer James Clear popularized an almost identical idea in his book Atomic Habits: improve by 1% each day. What Clear expressed through data, Epictetus had already lived with his soul. Both understood the same truth. Meaningful change doesn't come from giant leaps, but from small steps, repeated with intention. Epictetus used to say, "No great thing is created suddenly." And he wasn't just talking about outward success. He was talking about the soul. Epictetus didn't become wise on some random day. He earned it through countless invisible victories, through silent training, through steady growth, like a drop of water falling on a stone. It doesn't break it with force, but with persistence. That's how character is forged. That's how the mind is trained. You are the drop, and your life is the stone. Every time you choose to act with patience, with calm, with integrity, you're shaping a part of yourself. At first, it won't show, and that's frustrating. But time, my friend, always rewards the ones who keep going. What seems like a small gesture today will become part of your strength tomorrow. Believe me, you can do it. If my friend Daniel could, so can you. He used to start everything with fire and abandon it halfway. New habits, new goals, new plans. Every beginning filled him with hope and every failure with guilt. Until one day he had enough, not of failing, but of feeling empty. He decided to try something different. He no longer wanted to become his best self overnight. He just wanted to improve a little each day. He started with something so small it felt ridiculous, writing one sentence before bed about something he'd done well. I didn't argue with my boss today. I went for a walk. I stayed calm in that conversation. It was his way of reminding himself he could still make progress, even if it was small. At first, he struggled to find something good to write, but he kept at it. Over time, little things started to shift. When someone interrupted him, he paused before responding. When laziness crept in, he thought about what he wanted to write that night and pushed himself a little further. These weren't grand achievements, but slowly, he began to feel different. His mind became clearer, his character more grounded. 6 months later, Daniel hadn't changed the world. He had changed his relationship with himself. He no longer spoke to himself with guilt, but with respect. He no longer waited to feel motivated before acting. He just acted. Without realizing it, he had embraced Epictetus's principle. Improve a little each day, no rush, no pause. That's the 1%. You don't need to do everything today. Just do it a little better than yesterday. And when you fall short, don't start from scratch. Learn. One bad day doesn't erase your progress. It's all part of the journey. Try it for yourself. Choose just one virtue to work on this week. Patience, consistency, or calm. Practice it in small ways. If you have to wait, practice being still. If someone provokes you, hold your reaction. If you're feeling lazy, push for just 5 more minutes. Every gesture is a drop. And even if you can't see the change yet, you're shaping your character. The Stoics called this ascesis, training the soul. They didn't expect life to be easy. They used it as their gym. Everything that happened to them became an opportunity to practice. You can do the same. The routine, the annoyances, the awkward conversations. It can all help you grow if you choose to see it that way. The drop never stops. It doesn't know when the stone will crack, it just keeps falling. That's how you need to be, because steady improvement isn't a heroic act. It's a quiet choice. Every time you choose to move forward, even just a little, you're proving you're not the same person you were yesterday. Epictetus didn't change his fate. He changed the way he lived it. And so can you. You don't need a perfect life to grow. Just one daily decision to keep sharpening your mind. Lesson 22. Kill the imposter living inside you. My friend, in your own house lives someone who looks like you, dresses like you, talks like you, but isn't you. It's like a double who slipped in without asking permission. You hear them moving through the halls, using your favorite mug, leaving their clothes on your chair. And every time you're about to take an important step, you find them sitting there, smiling with that fake sense of reassurance, as if to say, "Relax, I'll handle it." The problem is, when they act in your place, they always do it halfway. They speak softly, doubt every word, and leave things unfinished. That someone isn't you. It's the imposter you've let settle in without realizing it. They don't sign contracts, don't take risks, don't dream too big. They only make sure you never step outside your comfort zone. And the worst part? They don't even pay rent. They take up your space, drain your energy, and dim your potential like a light bulb left on all day until it burns out. You let them stay because it's comfortable, because that way you don't risk failing. But meanwhile, they keep occupying the place that belongs to your best self. I'm sure you've felt it more than once. Maybe it happened in a meeting. You have a brilliant idea that could change everything. You've rehearsed it in your head, even in front of the mirror. And when it's finally your turn, the imposter takes over. Well, maybe this won't work, but... And just like that, the idea comes out mutilated before it's even born. The same thing happens when you look in the mirror before an important event, or when someone congratulates you on an achievement and you answer with, "It's nothing." This imposter steals your confidence drop by drop, and the worst part is, they do it using your own voice. This isn't new. Epictetus put it with a clarity that still cuts like a knife today. Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish. Wish for everything to happen as it does, and your life will flow. When you depend on external approval to move forward, you're already acting as your weakest self. A Stoic doesn't wait for the perfect signal or anyone's validation. They start moving as their best self from the very first step. Psychologist Valerie Young, author of The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women, has studied this deeply. Imposter syndrome makes you feel that everything you achieve is luck or coincidence. That any moment now, someone will find out you're not really that good. And no, it's not something that only happens to beginners. Even people at the top of their field feel it. Don't think it only happens to regular people. Even those we admire have faced it. Take Viola Davis, for example, one of the most respected and awarded actresses of her generation. Oscar, Emmy, Tony, and yet she admitted that for years she walked onto sets afraid someone would realize she didn't deserve to be there. How did she overcome it? By adopting the mindset of, I already belong here before anyone else told her so. She didn't wait for the world to give her permission. She took it. If you're ready to kill that version of yourself, start by introducing yourself and speaking like someone who's already capable, even if you don't believe it 100% yet. Words shape identity. If every time you talk about what you do, you downplay it, you're training your mind to believe it's small. Second, create a file, a note, or even a physical folder with all your achievements, big or small. That client who thanked you, that goal you hit, that challenge you overcame when you thought you couldn't. Read it when the imposter shows up, because sometimes you have to remind your own brain of what you can do. Third, change your inner dialogue. Instead of, I don't know if I can, say, I'll find the way. It's not self-deception, it's reprogramming. My friend, every time you let the imposter decide for you, you're keeping alive the part of you that holds you back, the one that always finds a reason not to take the leap, the one that keeps you standing on the shore staring at the water instead of swimming where you want to go. And if you don't face it, it grows stronger. That's why today it's not about negotiating with it. It's about throwing it out once and for all. The imposter doesn't pay rent, feeds off your insecurities, and in return gives you nothing. They steal the place that's yours and don't even flinch. It's time to change the locks. Because the day you take control and tell them there's only room here for your strongest self, you'll start living with the freedom of someone who shows up in the world exactly as they are. And that, believe me, is the sign you finally started living as your best self. Lesson 23. Master the only thing you can control. Imagine you're in your car, stuck in an endless traffic jam. The minutes pass, frustration builds, and you feel anger taking over. Sound familiar? Now ask yourself, can you control the traffic? Spoiler, no. But you can control how you react to it. Let's be honest. Life is full of situations beyond our control. But how do you respond? Do you focus on what you can't change or on how you react to it? That is the key to killing your weak version. Think about the incredible example of the people of Dominica. In 2017, Hurricane Maria struck the island with overwhelming force. Homes destroyed, streets flooded, an entire nation plunged into darkness. Everything they knew was reduced to rubble. What would you do if you lost everything in a single day? They could have remained paralyzed, dwelling on their misfortune, waiting for outside help. But they didn't. Instead of giving up, they decided to take action. Under the leadership of people like Francine Barron, they not only rebuilt what was lost, but they made it stronger. Every new structure, every decision had a purpose: to become the first climate-resilient nation. They couldn't stop the hurricane, they couldn't prevent the destruction, but they could control their response. And that changed everything. Don't you think you could do the same in your own life? But don't worry. You don't need to survive a hurricane to apply this mindset. Do you know in what small, everyday situations you can use it? Let's take a look. First, the classic drama of unexpected rain. You leave the house dressed in your best outfit, feeling unstoppable, and then, boom, a downpour soaks you from head to toe. What are your options? Get angry and spend the day complaining about your bad luck. Or kill that weak version of yourself, laugh it off, accept it, and turn it into another great story to tell. Second, the classic case of a ruined meal. You spend hours cooking, follow the recipe to the letter, and when you take out the final dish, it looks like a failed science experiment. Are you going to get frustrated and curse your cooking skills? No, because you're going to improvise with what you have and save the meal. That's how you unleash your inner chef. Third, the famous big night out that gets canceled. You've been looking forward to going out with friends for days, but one by one they cancel, and you end up home alone. You could get bitter and curse the universe, but that would be weak. Instead, you'll take advantage of the moment to do something you never have time for. Marcus Aurelius said it best: you have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. It's not about what happens to you. It's about how you choose to interpret it and act accordingly. Believe me, worrying about what you can't control is like being in a sinking boat and wasting all your energy screaming that the water shouldn't be coming in. While you complain, the boat keeps sinking. But if you stop feeling sorry for yourself and start bailing out the water, you'll realize that the storm doesn't matter. What matters is how you choose to respond to it. Remember, it's not what happens to you. It's how you respond that defines your path. It's time to kill that weak version of yourself that drowns in anxiety over what's out of your control. Unleash your potential by focusing on what you can manage: your thoughts, your actions, your attitude. Lesson 24. Accept your reality before you transform it. Most people don't change because they don't accept where they are. And if you don't know your starting point, how can you expect to get somewhere else? Many want to jump straight to the part where they're successful, balanced, and fully evolved. But before you build that new life, you have to take a hard look at the one you already have, without filters, without self-deception. That's exactly what Stoicism teaches. The first step to transformation isn't running away from your reality. It's observing it calmly. The Stoics weren't trying to control the world. They were trying to understand it. They knew you can't steer a ship if you don't first recognize which sea you're sailing. In the middle of Rome's chaos, Marcus Aurelius wrote one of his most powerful lines: "Love whatever happens to you, because it is woven into your destiny." He didn't say it from resignation. He said it from wisdom. Amor fati, the love of fate, isn't about giving up. It's about recognizing that everything that happens, even the things you didn't choose, can serve your growth. It's about accepting that your current reality isn't the enemy. It's your starting point. Picture an architect. Before designing a building, they need to study the land. They can't build on a surface they haven't measured, examined, or understood. If you deny your reality, your wounds, your fears, your circumstances, you're trying to build your best self on thin air. And of course it collapses. You, my friend, can be the architect of your life. And trust me, acceptance isn't surrender. It's the courage to face your life exactly as it is. No sugarcoating, no pretending everything's fine. It's acknowledging that maybe you're not where you want to be, but you're exactly where you need to be to learn what's still missing. Maybe you're in a phase of your life that you hate. You wake up early to go to a job that doesn't inspire you. You feel stuck. You think you could be doing something more meaningful. Sometimes, while staring at the clock midday, you think, I wasn't born for this. And maybe you're right, but maybe, just maybe, this very phase you're living through is the exact preparation you need to reach what you've been dreaming of. You might be learning without even noticing. You're picking up how a business runs, how to handle customers, how to solve real problems, how to stay calm under pressure. And though it might not seem like it yet, those are the very skills that will help you the day you finally launch your own project. When you take that leap you've been thinking about for so long, then it clicks. This moment isn't a punishment. It's your training ground. This phase isn't holding you back, it's preparing you. And when your perspective shifts like that, the weight disappears. Because now, instead of resenting your present, you start using it. You make it part of the process of building that better version of yourself that's already on the way. That's exactly what it means to live amor fati, to understand that even the most uncomfortable parts of your story are raw material. Your mistakes, your losses, your disappointments, they're not obstacles. They're the building blocks for what comes next. The Stoics didn't aim for a perfect life. They aimed for a mind that could work with imperfection. Seneca summed it up perfectly. What matters is not what happens to you, but how you respond to it. That phrase should be written on every mirror, because we all want to change, but very few are willing to face the truth of their current situation first. Without acceptance, there's no clarity, and without clarity, there's no direction. When you refuse to accept what you're living through, it's like pushing a door that only opens inward. The more you push, the more exhausted you get. But when you accept, the door opens on its own, and on the other side, you don't find resignation. You find peace. Stop fighting the present moment. That doesn't mean you have to like it. It means you look at it directly and say, "This too is part of my path." That one sentence silences the resistance. And from there, act. Not from frustration, but from clarity. When you take action just to escape your reality, you end up repeating the same patterns in a new setting. But when you act from understanding, each step takes you closer to a stronger, freer version of yourself. Epictetus, who was a slave before becoming a teacher, understood this better than anyone. He couldn't change his circumstances, but he could change how he lived them. And that mindset freed him long before his physical chains were removed. He once said that the wise person doesn't wait for a perfect world to act. They act in a way that brings them peace no matter the world around them. You can do the same. Start by accepting where you are. See it as the ground you'll build your best self on. If today you're tired, stuck, or frustrated by how slow things feel, don't deny it. Accept it. Because that very place that's testing your patience may be the one preparing you for what's next. Remember, transformation doesn't happen without acceptance. First, you acknowledge the ground, then you build the structure. First, you see the truth, then you change it. That's how real growth happens, because life isn't asking you to love everything that happens. It's asking you to stop closing yourself off from the lessons it brings. And when you finally stop resisting, you'll realize something deeper. Your best self doesn't emerge when everything is perfect. It's born the moment you choose to keep going, even in the middle of what you don't fully understand. Now tell me, what part of your reality are you ready to accept today so you can begin to transform it? Share it in the comments. Or simply leave this reminder for yourself. I accept where I am, but I won't stay here. And do you know why you won't stay there? The final lesson will give you the answer. Lesson number 25. Stay away from those who hold you back. Imagine you are a rocket about to launch. You have all the potential to reach unimaginable heights, but there's a problem. Something is holding you down. It's not technical failures or lack of fuel. It's the ropes tying you to the ground. Now think about your life. Those ropes are the people around you. Some push you forward, motivate you, lift you up, but others keep you stuck. Every negative comment, every disguised insult, every so-called joke that belittles your efforts is another rope holding you back. And if you don't cut them, you will never take off. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. Avoid those who pollute your soul. For him, the environment was crucial. He knew the people around you can either elevate you or destroy you, and he experienced it firsthand. As Emperor of Rome, he was surrounded by flatterers, schemers, and opportunists. He knew many were only close to him out of self-interest, telling him what he wanted to hear instead of the truth. But instead of surrounding himself with false allies, he chose to be around philosophers, strategists, and people who challenged his thinking. And tell me, how many times has this happened to you? You start improving and suddenly, your environment starts making you feel bad about it. You try to adopt a healthier lifestyle and they say, "Don't overdo it, enjoy life." You start working toward your goals and they say, "You've become boring, you never go out anymore." You decide to focus on personal growth and they say, "Why try so hard?" nothing really changes in the end. It's no coincidence. People who feel uncomfortable with your growth will try to pull you back down to their level. And here's where neuroscience comes in. Dr. Tara Swart explains that the environment we choose doesn't just influence our lives, it defines us. According to her, if you want to understand who you are at this moment, you should analyze the 5 people you spend the most time with. So, what do you think? Shall we try it? Think of the 5 people you spend the most time with. They could be friends, family, co-workers, or your partner. The ones you talk to the most, the ones who fill your days. Now, next to each name, write 3 words that describe them. Don't rush. Be honest. Is that person disciplined or a procrastinator? Are they positive or do they complain about everything? Are they ambitious or do they settle for the bare minimum? Do they push you to improve or always find a reason for you not to? Now consider this. If one of these people is constantly complaining about work, life, or lack of opportunities, how much of that mindset have you absorbed without realizing it? If another person is someone who never finishes what they start, who talks a lot but does little, how much has that influenced you to justify your own lack of action? Now go back and read those adjectives again. And here's something you might not like to hear. This list is showing you a part of yourself. Because, my friend, we don't just choose our environment shapes us. If you want to stop being weak, surround yourself with people who make you stronger, people who celebrate your growth instead of holding you back. Because success isn't just about what you do. It's also about who you do it with. Every decision you make defines who you are. It's not about changing for a moment. It's about committing to your best self every single day. Killing your weak version isn't a one-time act. It's a constant choice. Every day, every action, every thought can be the push that brings you closer to the person you truly want to become. Don't wait for motivation. Act without hesitation, without excuses, without looking back. If you've made it this far, prove your commitment by writing in the comments, "I end my weak version today and forever." The fact that you've made it to the end says a lot about your commitment to yourself. And that's what builds real strength, day by day. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you know someone who needs this message, share it with them. Click the videos on screen and let's keep walking this path together.